Now, of course, after watching this movie in an hour-plus drive home, it's nighttime and it's pouring down rain. After this movie, after what I just saw, man, driving home, I was like, I'm gonna miss my Guardians.
Here's Johnny. My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Expecto Patronum!
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 stars Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, and Dave Bautista, and is about still reeling from the loss of Gamora. Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own. This review will contain no spoilers, I promise. I'll be as vague as possible as I can because I know a lot of you are looking forward to this movie just as I was going to see this early screening tonight, and let me just tell you, I was excited because I love that first Guardians movie. It's probably top 3, maybe my favorite Marvel movie. I love it. And I enjoy that second movie. I know a lot of people hate it, but I really enjoy it. But I especially love James Gunn. I have loved James Gunn since Slither. Growing up, that movie was just so unique to me. I love his style of writing, direction, and just how he gets performers to get the best performances out of them with his script writing. I love James Gunn, so for this movie to happen after all the events leading up to Guardians 3, James Gunn's last time in Marvel, this cast, what are we going to get with the final Guardians movie? We're going to get exactly what he's going to deliver. Emotion, comedy, heartfelt, and just badass, awesome moments from these Guardians. I cannot tell you, I was not disappointed in this movie whatsoever. It did not blow me away. But I will say, this Guardians movie is the perfect send-off. The biggest standout in this movie has to be Rocket, voiced by Bradley Cooper. We get a lot more origin with Rocket Raccoon, and his background story is very dark, very heartfelt, but a lot of darkness, and his entire character is a complete major plot in this movie. Again, I don't get into deep spoilers because I know a lot of you are just trying to stay away from everything, but I'm gonna say Rocket's main focal point in this movie is very important, and the Guardians must protect him and what is coming, and obviously we have our entire Guardians cast, and they're all awesome. I love Chris Pratt. He was just in Mario, and in this movie we get him as Star-Lord once again. I freaking love Chris Pratt. His character development, his character arc, especially with Gamora in this movie after the events of Avengers Endgame. We now have this situation with Gamora in this group, and it's completely funny, but they do have great moments between one each other. I loved Gamora and Chris Pratt's relationship in this movie. Zoe Saldana is perfect in this role. I love her. She's great. I love me some Karen Gillan as Nebula. She's awesome in this movie. You get Dave Bautista back as Drax. He's so good in this movie. He's very funny. Some of the most funniest moments from the Drax character throughout the entire MCU. And I know a lot of people hate what they did with his character being more comedic, but I will say he's very fun in this movie. And no spoilers, I think Dave Bautista gives one of his best performances as Drax in this movie. And then of course his relationship with Mantis. I love Mantis. I love this cast. This cast is just perfect with each other. The James Gunn's brother in the Guardians, like all of them, it works together. And of course Groot. We have Groot. We have a very big Groot in this movie, and he is great. I mean, it is your Guardians cast. It's funny, it's emotional, it works together. You have no issues whatsoever there. Those guys are the highlights, and after this movie is over, you're sitting there, you're saying, this is the last time we're going to see these people together. This is the last time. And it just succeeded with that empowerment of this group. And that's James Gunn's writing. James Gunn is such a good writer with his characters. He gives you that emotional arc in this 2.5-hour movie. Even though you've had a trilogy with them, this story and this story connecting with these Guardians being so more impactful, this movie just worked better with this group. Now, our villain here is the High Evolutionary, and I cannot say the actor's name, and he's from Peacemaker. He's really good in that show. In this movie, very good in this villain. Seriously, I love his makeup. I love his look. I love when he shows up. He definitely feels villainous. Not an all-timer for me. I will say his entire background and his plot points dealing with Rocket and everything around the Guardians. I will say he is a good villain for this movie. And you get more of dealing with Adam Warlock, Will Poulter's character. And I don't know a whole lot about Adam Warlock, but I can say for a little screen time he's in this movie. He's not in the movie very, very long at all. I liked Adam Warlock. He was cool. It was definitely interesting. I want to see what's going to happen next, but I can say it definitely kind of feels like an add-on. That's a lot of stuff that's in the middle of this movie, because the beginning, you get back into your Guardians and meeting what's catching up, all that kind of stuff. Then you get more into the plot, and that middle half, little clunky, little editing choices that I didn't really love. Kind of feels like a lot of stuff is crowded in the middle of this movie. But once the ending hits at third act, when this big, obviously, big action, CGI, that kind of stuff, which looks great, obviously, the makeup, the practical makeups, I love all of that. But when the third act starts, you're in it. You're definitely in it. The emotions are hitting you. It's coming down to the wire, and you're like, oh my god. Tears are definitely going to be rolling down people's faces in this movie. This movie, I'm telling you, it's emotional. This is definitely the last Guardians movie, is all I'm going to say. No spoilers whatsoever. When the movie ended, I definitely sat there and was like, it felt fulfilling. Like, there was great action scenes. The comedy was there. The heartwarming scenes, the emotion. There were stakes in this movie. That was the best thing about this movie. In this movie, walking in, you're just like, who's gone? What's gonna happen? This is the last one, so anything's on the table. And I felt that in this movie, and the story writing really works. Yes, there's some clunky story elements in the middle half of the movie. Adam Warlock, the villain's, you know, he's there. It's a good villain for the movie, but nothing like, wow, top 10 villain of all time. In the end, I left with a smile on my face. I definitely left driving in my car with a little tear in my eye, just like thinking about it. In the theater, I teared up, and then driving home, I was tearing up because I just love these characters. And for it to come to an end, very fulfilling. I left very happy, and I cannot recommend this movie enough, especially in IMAX. I will give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 an A-. And before I even end this review, I forgot to talk about the freaking soundtrack. Of course the soundtrack is awesome. Seriously. 3 for 3 for soundtracks. I love the soundtrack of this movie. It worked very well with this story. Like I said, very darker, emotional story plot points in this movie, and just that music kicks in certain scenes. It just works, and it works perfectly. Really enjoyed the soundtrack. James Gunn, I can't wait to see what you do with the DC universe, really, because I'm going to miss you in the Marvel universe. I'm going to miss this trilogy. I mean, maybe top 3 trilogy for Marvel, honestly. And you guys enjoy this early movie review, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.